Bitte nun auf die Bahnmannschaft wieder auf Ihre Posten, damit ich die Bahnfreigabe einholen kann.
Wir haben zwei Spurläufer, noch 2 Minuten. Die Spurläufer Valentina Muff und Sarah Lüscher. Noch 1 Minute bis zum Start und noch 5 Minuten, 5 minutes to start the race. 5 Minuten bis zum Start des Rennens. Die Startboxen und der erste Spurläufer, Valentino Muff.
Fourth race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. And for the first time this season, we have a skeleton mixed teams competition at the historic birthplace of the sliding sports, Moritz in Switzerland. Well, welcome back, everybody, to our long day of coverage of exciting skeleton racing from this most historic of tracks. Our team competition is always fun and always tight as well, because not every team has equal performance in their male and female athletes. I'm Martin Haven, and I'm delighted to welcome alongside me race winner from this morning here in Moritz and a rookie in the booth making her debut, Kimberly Boss. It can't possibly be worse than me on a skeleton sled. Tell us about this track then. Where do you make your speed? Where do you throw it all away? And what makes it so special?
It makes it special because it's the only natural track we have. So it's built completely out of ice. There's no refrigeration, nothing. So you see the top of the track here, and it's just white what you see. It's amazing. You feel the wind go, and you feel the speed pick up very fast. The top of the track is being patient and doing as little as possible to make it through this section and basically stay off the walls, which is tricky. But you can really get down to 100 plus speed when you get out of this curve. It's called sunny because it's in the sun usually when it's nice out, and you get down to horseshoe. Horseshoe is the next curve coming up, and if you get nice height through this corner, you can really accelerate down and you take the speed through the bottom of the track. Where are we here? This is Devil's Dyke. I'm not sure why it's called that, but and then you get the 4 right-hand corners where if you do it right, you can gain speeds up to 140. We've seen in the men's race this afternoon, and into the 2 finish left-hand corners and across the finish line.
And you really feel the G-forces here. You're doing
Yes.
like 135, 136 Ks, 80 miles an hour plus, and you just ground into the ice, and your head is really taking a pounding as well.
Yes, you're trying to keep it off, but it's really hard when you're going at that speed.
And you notice actually there in the POV, athletes go under the railway line. So there are 2 little arches there. Cresta Run goes through one, Bobsleigh goes through the other.
Yes.
Separated by the tiniest wall of ice. So, a start light system, red to green, like traffic light Grand Prix, but if you move before the light goes green, there will be a time penalty added to your run. You're not disqualified, but effectively, well, on a short track like Innsbruck or maybe the World Championships in Winterberg, it'll be a major handicap. Here you got 1,700 meters of ice, so there may be slightly bigger gaps. Now, we were trying to figure out, before we came on air, who are likely to be our favorites, and actually, we've had a first ever World Cup gold, Amedeo Bagnis, for Italy today. And he and Valentina Margali, who was second behind you in the women's race, their team together, that could be the golden ticket, couldn't it?
Yes, they're last off, so it'll be exciting until the very last, I would say.
Now, I hope they've got good headlights, or they've been eating carrots, because by that stage, it could be pretty dark.
Yep.
Now, there are lights on the track, because the track workers work on it before daylight and after daylight, but we'll wait and see. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of different entries. Now I've got Swiss 2 going first. That has Swiss 1 going first. Whatever. We have got 17 teams in the hunt. A couple from Switzerland, which is great news. Spain here. Austria, 2 from Canada. The USA have a team. 2 from Austria. 2 from Germany. 2 from Great Britain. And the Italians as well.
And don't forget the Belgium team.
And the Belgian team. And 2 from China as well. And we reckon there's probably 7 teams that could easily take a medal here. So it's going to be a tough race. Going to be a little bit of a start delay. Julia Simpson, who was due to be first off, is now gone back into the little official's office beside the start. See Jos Matley there in the black with his hands cupped to his ears, trying to figure out what on earth is going on. It's been a very short turnaround from the end of the men's race, just half an hour ago, to the beginning of this race. Hallie Clark there, Blake Enzi.
Yep.
They'll be competing for Canada. On the right-hand side with the dark hair, there he is. That's our rookie who made his debut this weekend for Canada. So Jane Channel, she'll be sliding as well. Did I see the grinning visage of Bromley there as well? That was Richard Bromley.
Yes.
He's coaching the Brazilian Brazilians and the Belgians. No Brazilian team because there is as yet no Brazilian male slider. But
there's some in the youth these days, so they're coming up in a couple of years.
And when you look at the junior worlds and when you look at who was in Youth Olympics 2 years ago, 3 years, 4 years ago now, goodness me, then actually there's a lot of smaller sliding nations. And look at the flags of nations here. You've got Ghana, US Virgin Islands, you've got Ukraine, you've got
Denmark.
Chinese Taipei. I mean, a lot of these have got, like the Netherlands, winter sport history, but in lots of other different winter sports. You know, lots of alpine are in the Netherlands, speed skating, which is the big thing. You know, lots have big ice hockey nations, but actually the ability to compete at a relatively cost-efficient budget in skeleton has made it really a big expansion sport.
Seems like Julia's getting ready, so hopefully we're ready to start.
All right, we are ready to start. First ever teams race. Oh, did she compete in the Worlds?
Yeah, she did.
She did, okay.
Her or
no,
Sarah did. No, I don't think Julia did.
I don't think
Sarah
Julia did. No, she wasn't in the Worlds, was she? Okay, so Julia Simpson, Livio Summermatter. So the deal here is female sider goes first, male sider goes second, team's run is complete, and the total time of the 2 runs is where they are. Obviously, Switzerland will lead until at least the next team has completed. So, although the race isn't seeded, we'll have to wait and see exactly who stays in the leaders box and for how long. And actually, because it's not a regular World Cup race, there's this very different dynamic. You're racing with a teammate for the country as opposed to just for yourself.
So here the light's gonna start turning. I like how you see, it's green, she's off.
And it's quite unusual because normally you choose your own start time within a 30-second window. But here, you go when you have to go, and if you delay any time, then you're losing ground at the start.
Yeah, so don't make a false start, but also don't wait to go. Green is go.
Don't be too good, don't be too bad. Yeah, there you go.
But so far, Julia's having a really nice run.
And actually, she's had a chance, like you have, to recover from this morning's race.
Yes.
Bit of rest, just declutter the brain, have some food, you know. All of that's important because athletes eat roughly every 20 minutes of the day.
Can't say that's not true. Nice height, looking at it. It's going to be a good speed. She's going to be over 100. 101, look at that.
Now, again, you started this morning, 9 o'clock, -11, -12 at night. Very frosty track, much slower in the first heat than in the second.
Yep.
Still quicker than it was in your second heat.
Yeah, I think the track's nice and fast at the moment, so she's having a nice and clean run, so it's a good start for the Swiss.
Now then, if I'd been really clever, I would have got a result sheet out. Across the line she comes, 1:13.66 and 1:10.93 in the second heat and 1:11.21 in her first heat. So that might be slightly that the track, now that sun's pretty much below the mountains, it's starting to cool down a little, but also
I think it's the start that makes the most difference, because the start times are going to be a lot slower than on the normal races.
Having to start when you have to start.
Yeah, and also the time starts when the light turns green rather than the 10 meters after you've started pushing. So the start time is a 9:15, which is like 4 seconds slower, I think.
So what we get on our timing screen is a reaction time. So her reaction time was 19 hundredths of a second and 13 hundredths of a second. Quicker reaction time for Livio Summermatter.
He's a good pusher, so we'll see how his run is. We're struggling a bit to the kinks in the race on the men's, but we seem to have sorted it out now.
Always strikes me, this is the toughest bit of this track. Everybody looks at horseshoe and goes, you've got to be brave there, but this is the bit that gives away so much.
Yes, I totally agree. It's, if you can keep it straight there, that's a good start. You can maintain your start speed. And then he's looking nice through here. We'll see horseshoe coming up soon.
He's a big, tall athlete as well, and that helps because you've got a lot of mass. You push a slightly lighter sled. Good for aerodynamics. Nice exit out of horseshoe, nice and quiet.
It's nice and clean. He must the height a little bit like Julia had, so he had a slower speed than she's having, but lines are good. If it just lets it run at the bottom, it should be a good time to start from.
So much on this track you hear when they make a mistake. You hear the noises that you don't on an artificial track because it rumbles a lot more.
Yeah, if they go sideways, you hear the runners scratching the ice.
So across the line, total time for the team, 2:25.27. So the individual times, 1:13.66. I have to work out how the timing screen works again. It's been a while since we've done this. And a 1:11.61 for Livio Sommermatter.
Like here you can see his horseshoe, he's high, but he's not on, well, this is Julia, she's high, she's just not on the roof, which is great. Which is a difference to Livio, who is just slightly lower and just doesn't quite maintain his speed that he had from his awesome push. He's a very good starter, especially since he's really young still.
So 2 or 3 athletes right up in the woodwork, and actually normally you think, oh, that's a bit of a drama. Has been less so. Has been less so. Now, we've got a team from Spain, and first up is Ana Torres Quevedo, made her World Cup debut last season. She was here in the World Championships. Behind her, ready to go, is Adrian Rodriguez.
Yeah, Anna had a great race this morning. She PB'd by 2 seconds, she told me, so that was really good for her. Struggling a little bit here with the kinks, as you can see. She's not managing to stay off the walls, unfortunately. But relatively new to the sport, so it's just great that she's here.
Well, all these Spanish athletes brought in by Ander Mirambel in his last couple of seasons of sliding. He's now coaching and leading the federation. Little high in the first part of Snake.
Yep, you hear the runners scratch the ice.
Your ears are definitely more attuned to it than mine. Into Nash and Dixon. So bumpy on the exit of Dixon.
Yeah, it's a pretty rough profile Dixon has this year, so that is more, like, that's harder than even horseshoe itself. It's getting the entry right. She managed it pretty well.
Third best speed.
Yep, she's slightly down from Julia, but that is to be expected with her experience level at this point, but it's looking like a neat run.
There's another group of Spanish athletes coming up through the junior ranks behind these two as well. So anticipate seeing more and more of that in years to come.
Yes, they have athletes competing at European Cup level, Youth Olympics actually coming up.
Yep.
So
that's the big thing this year, isn't it? 24 Youth Olympics is going to be very interesting indeed.
Loads of different nations, but it's great to see Spain putting a program together.
Yeah. So Anna, 1:16.52 compared to 1:13.66 for Julia Simpson. So basically, that means Adrian Rodriguez has to be 3 seconds quicker than Livio Sommermatter to take the lead for Spain.
Well, his push won't be the problem because he's doing really well on the push, and he's hopefully gets the system. None of these athletes got to practice this, so it's first time really trying it on ice.
Yeah. And you sort of almost don't want to look at the lights because they go behind you. You just wait for the audible and go bing. Okay, go.
Yeah, you can see the lights in front of you, so you can see them turn green. We've practiced with it last year in Lake Placid at the World Push Championships.
Yeah.
But I don't think Adrian has ever tried it before. To have a reaction time of 0.08 is really good.
Yeah.
Same as Ed, has a little bit difficulty to the kinks, but he's putting his lines together now. Looking nice through here.
Always has his right elbow stuck out.
You've noticed that.
I need to go and ask whether his elbow was broken at any stage and just doesn't straighten all the way, or whether that's just the way he slides. I'm sure Anders tried to get him to tuck it in, but...
It's probably one of those things that over time he will get better at tucking it in, but it's hard to be aware of what your elbow is doing if you're trying to drive well down the track. He's putting together a good run. Difference is about the same as it when he started, so he's matching Livio.
Speed is good. Nice smooth run. And again, you know, 6 runs in training, 2 in the race. This is now his 9th trip down the track, so all adding to that little bit of experience.
Yeah, and we'll see where he is in a couple of years, but he can still make a lot of progress.
Actually, 1:11.89. Just 0.2 slower than Livio Sommermatter, so that's a pretty impressive run.
That's a really good run from Adrian.
Ken Charles reminding us that last year they used the curling sheet outside the Kulma Hotel as the practice area.
Yes. Yes, that's true. Before the World Championships, the teams got to practice out there. Just do the couple first steps and react to the light. There you see his elbow sticking out.
Yep.
But like I say, he's busy steering. He has a good timing in horseshoe.
Vamos España.
Vamos. So
They're always so happy.
They are always happy, aren't they? Living life to the full. They lie in second place behind Switzerland as we get to Julia Erlacher and Florian Auer as our first Austrian team at the line. Got the most explosive of starts off the block.
Well, so Julia probably has that relatively heavy sled compared to her body weight. Julia's not the biggest athlete in the field. So to get that sled moving is one of the hardest things to do on the start.
Good reaction time though.
Yep.
0.11 of a second, fastest of the female sliders so far.
She's quite a bit ahead of Julia as well at this point.
Yeah, the two Julias were very close together at the end of the women's race.
Putting some nice lines together towards horseshoe. See how her height is through there.
See, as they come out of Nash and Dixon, you can see the reflection of the lights on the track. That's showing you how dark it is actually getting. The irises are wide open on the TV cameras. Sun is nearly down behind the mountain.
You hear Julia's feet touching the ice. I'm not sure if she's driving or she's just not aware.
Couple of little kicks going into the Sachs curve just to hold the line from being too high on the exit. Speed is decent. Across the line, how far back? Only 1,500, so this is going to be a tight battle between the Swiss and the Austrians. And they were very close together. Julia Simchen and Julia Erlacher in the women's race.
Julia seems to be happy with her run.
I think she was happy with all three of her runs today, so...
It's good. I'm not sure how much experience she has on this track as well. Might only be her second time out.
Well, as so many people say, a bad day in St. Moritz is still better than any other day anywhere else, so...
It's a very pretty place.
It is a pretty place. Now then, Florian Auer, plenty of experience for Flo. Let's see if he can find a bit of speed to match with it.
Countdown starting. Off he goes.
Again, smaller athlete, very quick reaction time, 500ths of a second.
Slower on the start and Livio, therefore they're already behind the Swiss. Let's see what he can do on the track.
His brother Alex, who used to slide, is now coaching. And in fact, their dad Christian Auer's here this weekend as well, former world champion. Christian Auer competed with the likes of Mickey Grunberger and Andy Schmidt and all guys who are coaching at the moment in the early days of skeleton in the late 90s.
Flo seems to be having a really good run so far. He's nice and relaxed. Has some good height through horseshoe. Look at his speed. 102, best speed so far.
All right, let's see if he can bring it back.
See if he can close the gap to Livio that he had at the start.
114, that's nearly 71 miles an hour. Chin on the ice, head first.
This is going to be a close one, I think.
There's the Swiss.
Has better speed than Livio, but is he going to make it?
How close will this be? Just a 10th in it. So 1:11.56 for Florian Auer and a 1:13.81 for Julia Erlacher. And so it is Switzerland who lead from Austria.
Next up is the next Swiss team, so we'll see.
He took a little steer there to avoid the wall in the first corner.
Yeah, he slightly overcorrected. It was Julia, I think, that we saw.
Yeah.
This is Florian going through horseshoe with a nice line.
Right now for Switzerland, Sarah Schmidt and Vincent Buff. So again, two young athletes new to the World Cup this season.
It says she has a false start though, which means they get a half-second penalty, unfortunately for them.
So her reaction time was 300ths of a second, which is clearly too fast.
Can't anticipate the green light.
Well, she didn't go before the green light, but they they're not allowed a zero anticipation or zero reaction time. So she's ahead, but unfortunately the penalty is going to cost them.
She's struggling a little bit through the snake curves up at the top. You can hear the runner scrape, but she seems to be going in straight again.
Now, everybody should think that the Swiss have vast knowledge of the track and should be so much better than anybody else because it's their home track. But the track doesn't even open until December. When it was opened, we were racing in La Plagne and Innsbruck, so they've only had a couple of weeks to learn it.
They've had as many runs as most of the sliders that just came here after the World Cup ended to slide and learn the track.
Yep. It's nice to be at home, but it doesn't give a home field advantage. Very skiddy run, I'm afraid, from Sarah Schmid, and that start penalty as well.
Yeah.
Das reicht nicht, die Spitze zu übernehmen in dem Penalty.
Only 3/10 behind.
Strafzeit für den Schnellstart.
So not that far behind Julia, but with a penalty, it will be a big gap to overcome for Vincent.
Yeah, and the, as ever, ungainly departure from the sled in the crash mats. Was a little skiddy. I wonder how much different it feels compared to the women's race this morning. I'm sure it's got a very different feel. Now, of course, the guys were on the track about an hour ago, Vincent. He had a good race as well. I think it was a World Cup best result for him today.
He seemed to be very delighted when he got to the bottom of his, after his individual race.
Yeah.
His start is at least not a false start.
Right, 2/10 is the reaction time. He was obviously being a little cautious there because he heard, as we did, the track announcer saying that there was a penalty. So he will have known that there was, nothing to be gained and a lot to be lost by trying to go too early.
He's looking great through the Kings so far. He's has a really good form on the sled, and he looks like he knows what he's doing.
On the 3 sliding brothers. His older brother slid initially for Switzerland and is now sliding for Liechtenstein. And he's got a younger brother who's just 16 as well.
He's been forerunning all week, and he's been putting some great runs together. Vincent is doing well. He had nice height through horseshoe. His speed 103.2. Wow.
That's great speed, 64 miles an hour, and you really accelerate down this part of the track.
Yeah, still has the fastest speed going into the bottom section.
Well, you were watching the men's race. You said you really like the form of this kid. He just feels so fluent on the sled.
Yeah, it's great to watch. He looks really like he knows what he's doing, even though he's so young.
2300s back. That's a good run. 1:11.56. And that is the fastest of the men's. Oh, no, it's not. Florian Auer was 1:11.51, so just 500 slower than Florian Auer.
Considering he's very young and he can still potentially gain a lot of speed at his start, he's got a bright future ahead of him.
So this is the replay of the moment the lights change. Well, there's clearly just the tiniest flinch there.
Tiniest flinch, but you're not allowed to move. That's the rule, so that's very unfortunate for Sarah.
Well, Vincent's has got a good height as well for skeleton. That definitely helps. It means you carry mass, but aerodynamically. Yeah. Now, first of our 2 British teams. Is that right? No, this is Canada. This is Hallie Clark and David Park, who we saw watching at the start. I did think we were a little early. 2200s was the reaction time.
She's looking great on the sled, and I got a shout out for her shoes because they're orange. It's the best color, of course, me being from the Netherlands.
Obviously. And a black suit, the colour of licorice, the Dutch national drug, drop you. Out of Nash and out of Snake rather, into Nash and Dixon.
She's putting a good run together.
She's trying to haul the sled away from contact with the wall.
Yep.
Nice exit out of horseshoe.
She seems to be really relaxed on this sled, which is good here. So I'm not sure how the time's doing, but...
We will get a time because there is a second system running, so even if the first one is glitched, she won't have to go to the top and do it all again.
But this looks like a good run. Ooh, a bit of a tap there.
Yeah. Corner.
Out of the Sachs curve, and it hits the wall on the sliders right, and that really crucifies your speed.
Yeah, and it's uphill as well from there, so it could actually compound in quite a bit of time.
Yeah, we saw that in both the men and the women's races. A tap there that looks so innocuous just really hurts. 1:13.35 is the B sample time. So 1:13, yeah.
About the same as the other sliders we've seen come down the track. So we'll come down to David Park, a rookie of the field.
Well,
first World Cup, first team race.
First World Cup. I think first race in Europe as well. First time in St. Moritz for sure. So this is going to be interesting.
He's definitely new to the track, he told me, so.
Yeah. And again, new to the system. He's from, oh, what?
There you go.
There you go.
He's off.
Yeah, pretty decent reaction time, 0.26.
Once again, struggling a little bit out of the kinks. Trying to stay off those walls, but it's difficult.
Well, he's making a better fist of it than he did in the men's race. Didn't make the second heat, so we only saw him in one trip down this afternoon. I was going to say this morning, but it wasn't. 100th in the green over our current leaders, Swiss 2. They were the first out, Julia Simpson and
They're
Livia
already falling
Summermatter.
back behind them, though.
Yeah.
You can see he's relatively new to the track. He's not trusting it quite as much as the others were.
Head up, he's looking for the line. Whereas our Swiss sliders have been sliding on this track, you know, for 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years here and there, so they've got a bit more feel.
If you compare his form to, let's say, Vincenz, who had his head down, feet together, you can see he's struggling a little bit, but putting decent lines together, not skidding, staying off the walls at the bottom. So
they didn't get a second heat in the men's race, but this is that second heat. So he's now got a total of 8 trips in his life down this track. All right, so Swiss, Julia Simpson on the left, Livia Summermatter on the right, remain in the leader's box.
Yep.
And 1:13.14 for David Park.
Currently in fourth, I would say. Great job to David.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that hit that heli took at the bottom of the track just took off a lot of time as well.
Medium line, not great height there.
Not great height, but you can make it work. He turns it with his toe, which is the right thing to do there.
Paddy Clark on the left, David Park on the right. Clark and Park, sounds like a detective agency. Next up, Channel and Enzi. Sounds like drain engineers. Sorry, Jane, apologies already for that. Jane Channel now, she's got good history in these teams competitions with Dave Kreszczeshin, silver medal in the World Championships. The first time we had a mixed team competition in Altenburg back in 2020.
Good getaway. She's 6/10 up already on the rest of the girl times. I mean, she is one of the fastest started out of the women's field, so to be expected, but have a reaction time of 0.1 is really fast too. Here you go. Going into wall, already 8/10. Let's see how big the grab's going to grow, if she can keep these nice and clean. She's looking good.
And that first team's race in Altenburg, Mattia Gaspari and Valentina Margalio were just squeezed out of the lead by Jane Channel and Dave Kreszczeshin. And then in the end, it looked like they might just win it till Jacqueline Lurling and Alexander Gassner dashed their hopes and claimed gold. But she's got that World Championship silver medal. And Grizz, that was pretty much one of the highlights of his career, I would have said. Retired shortly afterwards.
That was a really cool race to watch, and we'll see what happens here. Currently, she has a clear lead on the rest of the field.
Classic fluid Jane Channel slide, 1:12.9. That's a big run from the Canadian.
She's 3/4 of a second ahead of the other team so far. Let's see what Blake can do.
4,500s quicker than Hallie Clark in just that run. And again, that's, you know, the years of experience. Right, let's see where they end up.
Go, Blake.
Go Blake. With the cornfields of Alberta on his helmet, Blake Enzie.
Also relatively young still.
Yeah, 19 years of age. Obviously stolen from Laura Nolter, his tape on the saddle. All right, good reaction time as well. 0.17, so they're both out of the blocks quickly. And again, he's a big, strong athlete with a good start.
He matches Livio's start time, so it's great to see that they're competitive.
Competed in the World Championships last year, so he's got a couple of seasons under his belt on the track. Nice tracking down to wall.
Good entrance into the snakes.
Snake, the transition's quite benign this year. Nash and Dixon, apart from the bumpy exit of Dixon, seems quite comfortable as well.
Yes, it's a little bit easier, I would say, than at World Championships in some places. But for example, Horseshoe is pretty tricky to get the speed. He's had good speed though, 102.
Yep. Third best speed, so the gap will come down.
I mean, it's still a second he has in the bank, so.
This could leave the Canadians in the leaders' box for a while. The Swiss have been in there for a further 3 teams.
36.2.
It looks like they will take it from them.
I think so. Jane Channel watching on. And across the line, 1.04 seconds in front, so a 1:11.33.
With a total time of 2:24.23.
Good run from Canada 1. It's going to be interesting to see how they fare through the rest of this.
Der Sommermatter war eigentlich auch schneller, aber am Schluss hat es nicht gereicht. Es geht weiter mit den USA, Sarah Roderick und Austin Florian.
Tough to get onto the sled and do so increasing the speed of it, like loading yourself, throwing yourself onto it.
Yeah, and like you blindly grab the handles, so you just have to know where they are.
Yeah.
Next up is our only US team today.
Yeah, Sarah Roderick, new to the World Cup this season, and Austin Florian will come up behind her.
She's new to this track as well, so she's been progressing every day.
Chat to her during training and she was really enjoying it, but there's so much to unlock in 1,700 meters.
Yep. Like, take these kinks, for example. They're just so tricky. As you can see, Sarah's trying to navigate them. She's controlling it well at the moment. Looking comfortable on her sled going down to the snakes. Already 3 tenths behind Jane, though.
But second at the moment, so ahead of Switzerland 2's Julia Simpson. Head up into Horseshoe, low line. But yeah, hits telephone hard on the take-on as well, and there's the speed all gone, from 3rd to 11th best.
Yes, hopefully she can put some nice lines together at the bottom to keep some of that speed in the sled.
And part of the problem when you lose speed is then you can't keep the high line that you want in some of these quicker corners.
No, it makes it more difficult because the extra speed helps you keep the pressure in the curves.
In the finish.
Across the line, 1:13.72.
Which I think puts her close to the times of the Swiss and the Austrian girls. So.
600s behind Julia Simpson. And off an identical start time, so actually not a bad run at all for somebody who really doesn't know the track.
No, I think her mistake in Horseshoe cost her quite a bit, but the rest of the run was pretty clean.
Well, let's hope that Austin Florian has a second heat run here, not his first heat run. He hung out in the leaders box for half a dozen sleds in the second heat.
Yeah, had a bit of a rough time first heat in Horseshoe.
Yeah, he did, but he knows how to nail it, so let's see if he can remember now.
Yeah.
The first casualty of war is plan A, and it's the same here, isn't it? It's the moment you start your run, plan A goes out the window.
It never goes as you want it to. You can get it pretty close. Good reaction time, 0.14.
Very good. Decent load as well. See what the escape velocity is like, half a second back.
Fastest push time so far.
Yeah, 31.3 miles an hour, 50 kilometers an hour.
Keeping it nice and straight through the kinks here.
Fastest men's run so far, Blake Enzie in the lead with Canada, a 1:11.33. So he will need not quite to match that, because I know he will actually. He'll need to find getting on for half a second faster than Blake Enzie to keep them in the lead.
Nice height for
good
Horseshoe.
heights, but
Not enough turn.
hard onto telephone.
And actually has lower speed than Sarah had coming out of Horseshoe, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, because Horseshoe knocks onto telephone, knocks onto Devil's Dyke. Yeah.
Yes, he had nice height, but didn't turn the sled in time, and then he just kept pushed over to that wall out of Horseshoe, and that's the speed gone. He's not looking too bad through the bottom, but just doesn't match the speed Blake and Jane had.
Yeah. Paddling away with his feet out of the Sachs curve is not what you want to see. 1.6 seconds back, 2:25.83. And that leaves USA in 5th place of our 6 teams so far.
7.
Yeah, it says 7, but we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 on our leaderboard, so something's missing. That'll be the GB team that didn't exist. That's what's going on with that. Well, there was, again, the exit of Horseshoe. If you get it right, it's smooth as a whistle. If you get it wrong, either too early or too late, it's a crash.
Yes, and he just doesn't quite turn it enough, and then you kind of fall out into that wall, and all your speed's gone, unfortunately.
Wrecked it in Horseshoe.
Next up is our second Austrian team.
Anna Zauliter and Sammy Meyer. Now, there's a combination of almost no experience and loads of experience.
Yes, good reaction time.
Yeah, very quick. 0.11.
But like you say, lack of experience a little bit. She's struggling through the kinks here to keep it straight. Gets it back under control, fortunately.
I think lots of people try and sort of slide around that first kink without touching it, but if you get it right, it's lovely. If you get it wrong, and that's more often, it's horrible.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't want to do on this track.
Down to Sunny. Sun's long gone now from there. And then into Nash and Dixon, named after the 64 Olympic two-man champions from the St. Moritz Bob Club. Not a noise.
Not a noise.
That's what
good.
you want to hear. Nothing. And she hasn't got great speed on board, but she did build it out of Horseshoe.
Yeah, she just didn't quite have the height to get all that speed out of there, but she did a good job. She's gaining momentum.
Clean at the bottom here. That's the Austrian gliding heritage of Innsbruck.
Yeah, she's looking good on her sled here. She's probably going to fall behind the Canadians, but
1:15.45.
So the King 1, it must have cost her more than I thought it did.
It's this weird thing, you think a mistake in the fastest corners will cost you most, but in fact the slowest corners, you got least speed, you give more of it away.
Yes, and like you lose speed in the first corner, you can't gain it back. You have to, it continues to follow you down the track.
Absolutely so. Okay, Sammy Meyer then.
The experienced one of these two, for sure.
Yeah, another proud sliding family. Brother Benny, a World Championship medalist in men's bobsleigh and an Olympic medalist in boys bobsleigh. And his dad, Manny Meyer, for a long time was the Austrian bobsleigh coach. Sammy went skeleton, maybe not tall enough for a bobsledder. So 1300s was the reaction time.
It's looking good so far.
Yeah, close to the Canadians.
See how much time he can make up.
So Canada lead from Switzerland and Austria 2. Still in the red. The gaps are tiny at the moment. Keeps it over to the left into Horseshoe.
Perfect height, gets it clean. That's what you like to see, 102.7.
Yeah, good speed from Sammy Meyer. Still good speed, 2.48 seconds back.
Having very good lines here at the bottom.
Right, seems like an awful lot. Ooh, Martino
big skid.
Portago. Not many people have got it wrong this year. That leaves them at the tail of the field almost. So Canadians remain in the lead. Is Jane Channel going to end up with another team medal out of this? Still a lot of sliding to go.
Next up is one of the medal contenders for sure. It's the first German team.
Yep.
That will tell us a bit more how fast that time of Jane and Blake was.
Anna Zaulita rocking at the top. And that was Sammy Meyer. This is Anna loading. All right.
He's a lot of breath.
Little bit of a late lineup change. Suzanne Kreher, the world champion on this track last year, is in the team, but Axel Jung is out, and Felix Kaisinger is in. I'm sure Axel was feeling entirely healthy after the men's race.
0.7's reaction time, so fast out of the blocks.
Yeah, 200s on the safe side of a penalty.
Yeah, she pushes a little slower than Jane in the end, but has a great start of her run.
Yeah. Well, if you're pushing a few hundreds slower, but you're reacting a couple of hundreds quicker, then it all helps.
It definitely does.
1800s behind the Canadians.
She's looking really good so far. 1400, so she's closing the gap to the Canadians.
Now, when we see the women sliding, sometimes their speed doesn't look great, but that's because the speeds are for the men and the women. So the men usually carry more mass, but she's got great speed, and they've just overhauled the Canadians.
She's doing 103 out of horseshoe, 150 now. She has the highest speed out of everybody, so also the men.
Well, she's put the women's race behind her. She was in tears at the end of the women's race. The defending world champion didn't even finish on the podium. She had a horrible couple of runs, not horrible, but in her head, horrible couple of runs. There's a bit of indication, 7,300s quicker, 1:12.17.
They already have a big gap, and they still have Felix Kaisinger coming up, who can slide well here too.
Yes, as long as Heat 2 Kaisi turns up and not Heat 1 Kaisi. He's had this reputation of having to undo a bad first heat a lot. Now that's better to see, more of a smile on her face. Last run in St. Moritz is one I think that she's relatively happy with.
It's nice that she got another run in to just do it well.
And nice that you're talking about it rather than out there. You killed it today, there's no two ways about it. You absolutely slaughtered it today. Next up, Felix Kaisinger. Let's see what he's got at the start. .22 was taking no chances there, was he?
No, not the fastest reaction times, but a good push still.
Yeah.
Fastest so far. I also think these Germans are not quite looking to where the others are. They're looking forward to what they need to get to be faster than, for example, the Italians in the end.
Well, I think it's a mindset with the Germans is that you look to beat your teammates, and then presumably that means you're top of the pile a lot of the time.
Very true. They're a very strong sliding nation.
Yeah.
Kaisinger is looking really good here, putting some clean learns together.
We've had 3 of these races in World Championships, and Germany has taken gold each time. And in fact, in the mixed team relays, when we used to have bobsled in as well, they had a lot of gold medals there as well.
Felix actually has lower speed than Susanna just had, but still one of the best speeds of the day.
So Canada about to be out of the leaders box. They will slip into second place as Germany takes the lead by 1.23 seconds, 2 minutes 23 dead.
That's a big lead. We'll probably see some teams go in that gap that are coming up. One of those teams is the Italians that's coming up next. The first team.
2 strong Italian teams, potentially 2 strong Chinese teams. We've got the Belgians, we've got 2 British teams. Not the highest line, but carried the speed well.
Felix had a really nice high line. Did he touch the wood there? Ooh, it's hard to say.
Hard to say. often later in the season there's ice up there, and so it comes off and it gives you the indicator, but I think it was close enough. Alessandra Fumigali now for Italy.
She was...
Take back on the chin of the helmet.
Yes.
Scraped it off in the first heat. There wasn't any in the second heat.
Oh. She wasn't too happy with her individual race this morning, so hopefully she can put a nice run together, because she's been really fast in training.
Yeah.
Struggling a little here already on kink 1.
Keep your toes up.
Yes, at this point she's ahead of the Germans, so...
Yeah. I think that's better than she had actually in either run in the women's race.
She won one of the club races this weekend that some of our sliders did before the World Cup race, so she knows how to slide the track.
So it's good to get extra trips in. Low line and hits hard into telephone, flops into Shamrock. There's the speed, gone away.
Yes.
And again, because she's quite petite, she's quite a slight light athlete, it means that actually those hits take more speed out.
Yeah, if you're heavier, you carry the momentum, but all women should be roughly 102 kilos or just below, because you can't be over. So,
with the sled included. And across the line, 97 hundredths back, 113.14. Won't be thrilled with that. It was looking good up to Horseshoe.
yeah, she's definitely not going to be happy with that run, unfortunately. But she held it together well at the bottom of the track. She had some nice lines there, but the speed was already gone, unfortunately, as you can see.
Yep. The look we had after the second heat as well from Alessandra Fumigali. Well, her teammate, Mattia Gaspari, was a bronze medalist in the World Championships in Altenburg 2020.
Together with Valentino, who's coming up later.
Yeah,
so
Valentino Margali, and he had great fun in that race, and a big result as well, World Championship bronze medal. He had a good run as well in the men's competition.
Okay, one of the highest speeds.
And I think he had a career best finish in a World Cup race as well today. So 18 hundredths of a second, not the fastest reaction time, but very much on the safe side. Nice fluid start. He looked like he was just flowing down the track today.
He looks very comfortable. His head is low, his feet are together. One of the quietest transitions I've seen through the snakes so far.
And he's bringing the gap back from 1.55 to 1.53, so he's actually driving quicker at the moment than Felix Kaisinger did.
Nice height through Horseshoe here, clean exit. Has 104.5 speed.
Yeah, smooth into telephone, onto Shamrock, nice and smooth through Tree and Nameless. Good speed here, 72.5 miles an hour.
It doesn't seem like he's working for it either. He lets the sled do the work. Has some really good lines.
Yeah, that's the secret. Make it look like it's effortless. He's going to be behind, but brings it back from 1.5 to 0.8. Halves the deficit to Kaisi. That's a great run. 1:10.65.
It's the fastest run we've seen so far.
Yeah.
I guess he'll be happy with this run, but unfortunately it is a team race, and both runs have to be good to be at the top.
Yep. No medal this time, I think, for Italy's Mattia Gaspari. Was a good run.
Very nice line to Horseshoe. That's where he gained so much speed.
Yeah.
Okay, die.
Okay.
Back to the Germans, it is.
Yes. Next up, Jacqueline Pfeiffer. You don't recognize the name, perhaps, but you recognize the face. Formerly Jacqueline Lurling. In fact, she competed in the Worlds here last year as Jacqueline Lurling. Got married in the summer. So congratulations to her and her husband. And she shares the team with Felix Seibel. So a combination of a lot of experience and relatively little. A lot of experience and quite a nifty moustache.
She has a false start.
Oh!
She started moving before the green light even came on, so they get a bigger penalty than the Swiss did earlier in the race.
An 88/100ths of a second penalty, and that has absolutely shot down any chance they had of taking the lead.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to overcome that, even with the great skill that the Germans have in their team.
Yeah.
The run is looking really good so far, but unfortunately already 1.2 seconds back because of that penalty.
2017 world champion in women's skeleton. Great to see with the expanded field this year because there's no more ICC. She's back in the World Cup squad. The World Championships on her home track in Winterberg at the end of January. Having not been able to take gold there, Tina Hermann won ahead of her in 2015. I'm sure she would love to do that. There'll be somebody in this booth who'll be trying their hardest not to let her. Whoa, okay, 1:12.66.
Which means it was a really good run.
Yep. So we're hearing there was no penalty, and in fact our timing screen has changed to reflect that. 1:12.66. Big smile from Jacka.
What? No. No. Ich war eher voll langsam.
And there's, yeah, Jacka has the big smile and the experience, and Felix has the moustache. Did say that should be Mattia Gaspari's moustache. I think Mattia's going to have to up the D'Artagnan facial game in future. Felix relatively inexperienced on this track, only a handful of World Cup starts in his career.
We do get the the penalty again. I'm not sure if that's the system or this was actually a false start, but we'll hear later.
But saying that he was a tenth before the lights changed, saying Jacka was 3/10 before the lights changed. So again, the second timing system will confirm or deny. Apparently this is correct.
So unfortunately for Felix, this is an actual false start.
Yep. However, nice looking run so far. Oh, and gets that little bit of wall that sticks out after Dixon.
Yes. And then you just can't get the same height as that we saw Gaspari do, for example, and he just doesn't have the same speed.
Halfway through our race, Germany leads, but Germany too with a penalty coming their way of 65/100ths of a second. Means that whatever Felix Seibel does, unless he can find an enormous shortcut. Oh, and he gets it wrong at Martineau to Portago as well. 77/100ths back at the end, 1:11.11 plus penalty means the total time sees them in second place, 77/100ths back. So 2:23.77, 200ths ahead of Italy's Alessandra Fumagalli and Mattia Gaspari.
With that penalty, so if they didn't have the penalty, it would have been really close to their German teammates.
Yep. 65/100ths of a penalty, and they were 77/100ths back. Yeah, just the tiniest little movement of the sled.
Before the light actually turns green.
Yeah, leaning into it.
Which just means he knows at that point as well, because the lights turn red.
Yep.
Next up is Kim.
Yeah. Belgium's Kim Marmont and Colin Freeling. And again, combination of very experienced and relatively new. Here is the very experienced part of it. Kim takes a big part in the first corner, but avoids skids.
She keeps the runners nice and straight, so at least she minimizes the extra distance she travels.
Well, you and she have had similar kind of career level paths, haven't you? You arrived in the World Championships at the same time and into the World Cup at the same time.
Yes, we've actually slid together in the first Europa Cup we ever did as well, so.
Right from day one.
Yep, she's looking good on her sled, has a nice entry to horseshoe, good height. Nice and quiet exit. Let's see the speed.
Yeah, 300s behind, 4th best speed.
Yes, 103 as well. Just like Susanna ahead.
So she's closing on Germany 1, our race leaders.
Just falling back a little bit. 700's the difference right now.
Going to be very tight. This is going to put a lot of pressure on Colin Freeling. Because he's got to beat...
This is a good run from Kim.
It is a very good run. He's got to beat Felix Geisinger by 1600s to take the lead. That's a good run. 1:12.32.
Yeah, that will be a tough one to do for Colin with his inexperience, but he gets a go.
I know for the World Championships there's going to be a lot of Belgian support. They've already organised coach trips. I'm sure there'll be a lot of Dutch support as well.
Definitely.
For you in the Dutch Alps. Now let's see what Colin can do. Didn't race in Innsbruck. He was in hospital having a burst appendix removed. So it's been a while since he was on a track.
He said he recovered well, but he's not fully back yet, but he's happy he can slide.
Well, when you've had your abdomen opened, yeah, that's hard, isn't it? Particularly where you need core strength like this. He was in the Junior Worlds in Lillehammer last week. Let's see what he can produce.
Taking it safe with a reaction time of 0.2. Did a good job of kink 1 and looks like a great start of his run.
We say 0.2 of a second is like a massive margin of safety. It's a tiny amount, isn't it?
But 0.2 of a second in skeleton is a big gap.
Yeah, exactly so.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's a lot slower than Felix is on the start. He's already more than a second behind.
Yeah, Kaisi is one of the quickest starters in the field.
Colin is putting a nice run together. Just touches the wall before horseshoe. And taps it just before telephone as well. Missing the speed that the Germans had, unfortunately, but seems to have it back under control now.
So 1.58 back. This is going to leave them in maybe 4th place, maybe 5th place. Little pinball wizards down out of Sachs into Martineau and Quartago. Nicely lined between them. 4th at the line, 5th at the line.
5th at the line.
All right. So ahead of Switzerland, Austria, Switzerland, USA, Austria and Spain.
For a first appearance in the team race.
And given, again, that Colin has so little experience, yes, Kim does, and she was right in there swinging with the world champion, Suzanne Kreher. But that left a lot of heavy lifting for Colin to do.
He has nice height through horseshoe, turns it.
Yeah.
Just doesn't quite get the same control as Kim had and kind of loses his speed here with the skid. But great job from them.
Yeah, absolutely. First team race for them. Now then, first of our 2 Chinese teams, Liu Qi and Yin Cheng. Hard to decide which of the 2 Chinese lineups is actually the stronger.
Good reaction time from Li.
I think in the 2 teams, Xiao Dan in their second team will be the stronger of the 2 girls, but I think in this team, maybe Yin Cheng will be the quicker of the 2 guys. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, see, you want to know what I'm going to look like on a skeleton sled? That's what I'm going to look like on a skeleton sled. The difference is she'll tidy it up. I'll do that all the way down.
Yes, she's tidied up and she has the sled back under control, luckily. It's not fun when you have a skid like that. Unfortunately, it takes up a lot of time.
I talked about this in the men's race and in the women's race. You know, the runners are maybe a metre long, but the contact patch is about the length and the width of your little finger.
Yes, it depends on what you run and like what you prefer, but it's about that.
It's tiny, isn't it?
Yes.
Which is why when it starts swiveling on that tiny little pivot, it's almost impossible to stop it.
Yeah, and it's great she got it back under control, and the bottom of her run looks really good, but she really lost the speed at the top, unfortunately, so she can't challenge the Germans.
And the problem is, you can't just throw everything to the wind, because at the bottom of the track, despite all of that drama and how, quote, slow she is, she's still doing over 80 miles an hour into the final corners. So
yes.
You absolutely can't panic and you've got to focus.
Yes, because you have to bring that sled down. You can't just get up and get off your sled. You have to finish the run. And
if you just completely lose it, there's going to be a lot of high-speed ice contact. So tough run for Li Yuqi.
You can see it in her face. She's a little disappointed with that. Let's see what Yin can do and if he can close the gap.
Yep, Yin Cheng with work to do.
3 seconds is a lot, and it'd be impressive if he could, but let's see if they can climb up the ladder a little bit from where they are now.
Looked like a pretty decent reaction time, 1400ths of a second. Ooh, a rattle down the wall, but comes off straight, and that's much less of a drama.
Doing better than his teammate, her team. Yeah, his teammate.
His teammate, yeah. Well, he's the push world champion from last year's competition in Lake Placid, so we expect to see a quick start from him.
He was a little slower than Kaisinger, actually. His reaction time changed the start times a little bit as well. It's a different technique, and it's tricky to navigate.
And you can't rock the sled or make any movement, which will be some athletes' natural instinct. Good height.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Nice and quiet, but yeah.
103.5, so he's matching Kaisi there.
3-second deficit is tough to undo. Of the men, this is currently the 3rd fastest run, just 500 slower than the quickest. It's the overall... Kaisinger on left, Kreher on the right in the bottom picture. That's our current leaders, and they remain in the lead as the Chinese slip to 9th place.
So he closed the gap by a half second, so they climbed up from where they were.
So 1:10.39 for him, 2:25.75 for the team.
Up next is our first British team.
Yep.
Also a different starter than we originally had on the start list.
Yeah, you saw Li Yuqi wavering all over the openings, few runs, and here Yin diving down out of horseshoe. Nice quiet entry into telephone. That's what builds, that's what creates the second half of the run.
Yes.
So Freya Tarbit here with Craig Thompson. Freya taking the spot of Amelia Coltman. Now, Freya didn't make the second heat in the women's race. Matthias Guggenberger, big smile on his face, but it's saying there's a half-second penalty.
Yeah, it looked like she moved before the light turned green. It's difficult. They don't really get practice at these starts, and just a little movement will make it a false start, unfortunately.
And actually, if she wasn't originally down on the team, she might not have had a practice at all. They might have taken them all out for practice, but not guaranteed.
No, it might have been her first time ever that she used this starting system. I'm not sure.
Quite possible. Well, let's see what she can do down the track. What we saw with the British sleds was that despite some pretty decent lines from most of the sliders, the speeds just were nowhere. Which is not something we've seen. Oh, man, big.
Not the best hit, accident horseshoe, big hit.
Yeah, huge hit into telephone. Lowest speed of anybody so far, almost.
She's keeping it together, has nice form on the sled, and has the sled back under control here in the bottom section.
Well, the key after a day like this is just to forget about it, leave it in the past, and move on to the next track and the next day on ice. And if you can do that, then that's half the secret of competition. 1:14.44. So that penalty, 0.54 of a second, so it should have been a 1:13.9 exactly, which is still a long way away from where she'd like to have been.
It's always Freya's first time here, so she's had about 8 trips down the track before this heat.
Well, she was loving it until race day.
Yeah, they have big smiles on their face during the training session.
Yeah, she was absolutely bubbling in the hotel last night. Well, let's see what Craig Thompson can do. He knows now, as Matthias Guggenberger does, that actually this is just a bit for personal redemption.
Yes, he has a lot of experience on this track by now as well.
Now, he would like to change a fast start into a fast finish without the speed disappearing from the sled.
He had some great training runs this week, but he just couldn't seem to get the bottom part of the track on race day today.
Yeah. Nice and quiet down these long straights. This must feel like forever till anything happens.
Yeah, sometimes you can even hear her start time when you're going down there because the track's so quiet. Is he navigating it well?
Yeah, a little rocky into Snake 1, but that seems to be its nature this year. Coming down to Nash and Dixon.
Putting really nice lines together, having a nice entrance to Horseshoe. Good height. Ooh, but just clips before telephone, unfortunately.
Fourth best speed. It's probably as quick as he's been throughout the weekend, throughout the race day today. Again, a couple of early take-ons onto the corners means you sort of hit as the wall is becoming the turn.
Yeah, and it just slowing you down, unfortunately.
Well, there's
better than his runs earlier today.
Does. Freya in the inset. Not much you can say about that. Across the line, it's their first race as a team. 2.34 seconds back, 2:25.34.
And his personal dive time of 1:10.90 is a relatively fast one. I'm not sure what Kaisi did.
Yeah, it's possibly not the greatest. What did Kaisi do? 1:10.83, so only 700s back.
Very close.
That was Freya just falling out of Horseshoe.
Yeah, that's what cost him, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, he took a bronze in the team's competition in the World Championships with Brogan Crowley last year. No medal, I don't think, this time for Craig. Next up, Xiao Dan. I think this is China's medal hope. I really do. Xiao was very good in the women's race, and Chen Wenhao, top 6 in the men as well. So
she had a really good first run. Was a little disappointed with her second run, she told me, so hopefully she can put that first run spirit in the sled again for this run. Only 600s behind Susanna is a really good start.
And a rocking reaction time, 0.05. That's the fastest minimum reaction time you can deal with. So she was absolutely out of the traps like a greyhound. She was one of the last of Mark Wood's group of development athletes, and he said he thought that she had the most potential for the future.
A little early on Nash here, so unfortunately that takes off a little bit of speed. Same out of Dixon, but has some height through Horseshoe. Comes clean. 101.4, decent speed. All in all, it's just looking like a pretty good run from Zhao Dan, considering that she's a lot less experienced than Susanna Krayer is, for example.
Not much extraneous noise. Little tap there on the straight out of Sachs down to Martineau. Oh, skids into Portago. There's another 10th right there. 8 tenths back, 1:12.97. That's going to be hard to overcome. 8 tenths behind Suzanne Krayer, when Krayer's teammate Felix Kaisinger did a pretty stand-up job as well.
Yes, it's going to be tough, but for spots 2 and 3, they're still in contention, I would say. It's a good job from Zhao.
Suzanne Krayer, the world champion in women's skeleton last year, and the team world champion as well. So she had a pretty decent time in Samris last year. Little wave there from Chen Wenhao to say, yes, I'm ready.
Starting system is counting down.
Yep.
And off he goes. He looks to be a little bit careful, but still only 0.12 is pretty good reaction time.
Yeah, Kaisi was a 2200s reaction time, so he gained a 10th there just in the reaction time.
Yes.
A little bit of snow falling out of the trees, or is that actually falling?
I would think it's out of the trees.
Yeah, it usually is.
There was no clouds overhead, so I don't know where the snow would come from.
We haven't much of a view out the window. No, there is snow. No snow in the air, so it's just coming out the trees at the end of the afternoon. Nice looking run from Chen Wenhao.
Nice height, good exit of Horseshoe.
And they're definitely adapting well to the Dirk Matchant sleds, aren't they? They were on Willie Schneider equipment originally. And Dirk has been coaching them the last couple of seasons. 4th best speed.
He's pulling the gap. Ooh, unfortunately hits there.
Whoa. And there you're really struggling because you're 75, nearly 80 miles an hour there. Really high speed, 130 plus Ks.
Yeah, unfortunately puts them in 4th place at this point, so no chances of medal for the second Chinese team. But until then, Chen was really doing well.
Yep, 111.23 compared to 110.83, so a long way back from Felix Kaisinger, unfortunately.
Only 2 teams left.
Yep.
Which means that our first German team is guaranteed the medal right now.
Yeah.
Susanna's picking up another one in St. Moritz, together with Kaisinger.
Chao Dan on the left, Chen Wenhao on the right. They slip down. Germany 1, lead from Germany 2, and Italy. Okay, 2 teams to go. Great Britain and Italy. So Italy will get a medal out of this. Germany might get 2. She's not guaranteed that Italy get a medal, is it? We'll wait to see what the Brits do. Tabby Sturker. Push, push, push.
Yes, and here you can see she's a great athlete, but she's never used to a reaction start. She doesn't come from a background of athletics. She's actually told me she'd use trapeze,
yes,
to say correctly.
She is a trapeze artist. She went to a circus school.
So the reaction time, unfortunately, is very slow. See what she can do on the ice.
Well, and the other thing is that with Freya picking up a penalty, she wanted to make double sure she didn't. So, yeah, but
that is true as well.
Let's see if she can find a better run here in her 3rd trip down the mountain today than she had in the first couple of heats. A disappointing run for all 3 British girls this morning.
Right now, she's still ahead. Unfortunately, has a big skid into horseshoe. Nice height, though, but hits again before telephone. And that lead she had is completely gone, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sled is very much loose underneath her. It's just sliding at will.
Yeah, she has one of the slowest speeds of the whole heat, unfortunately.
She's the 32nd athlete. Only 1 sled has been less quick through the forest. That means she was waving all the way over Martineau and barely up the wall in Portago. 1:13.95.
That is a big gap that Marcus have to overcome.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Nash and Dixon, British Olympic champions, were not looking after her. She runs all the way up through the mats onto the rubber as well to add insult to injury. Not for her, but for the runners. That'll be a lot more polishing work required.
Yeah, braking is hard in this ice because it's really hard and you don't want to ruin your shoes either. So it's a bit of a struggle between slowing down and not breaking your shoes and slowing down enough not to hurt your runners, unfortunately.
Exactly. Well, this is one of the tracks where it's less likely or least likely to be gritty and dry and nasty on the rubber, but...
So you want to stay clear of it.
Yeah. Marcus Wyatt taking the place of Matt Weston.
Starting the countdown.
All right, looked like a pretty decent reaction there from Marcus Wyatt, 0.15 of a second.
Nice navigation of kink 1 and nice straight line towards the second one.
Beautiful images with the setting sun glowing on the track and the lights as well.
Yeah, I wonder how much it changes because visibility is definitely different than it was during their race.
Yeah, light to dark to light to dark. Well, at least you're not going snowblind, which is part of the issue at St. Moritz, isn't it? On a sunny day,
true.
You know, you're walking around and you can't tell, you know, any high spots or low spots.
On the sled, it gets very difficult too sometimes.
Oh, nice height.
Nice height.
Look at that. That's
Excellent.
The best horseshoe we've seen, but had to work hard to get into Devil's Dyke. And the speed, not where it needs to be either.
No. Had a couple issues before he got into horseshoe. I think that's where the speed mostly went.
Yeah.
Having some nice lines here at the bottom. Looking very relaxed.
Great height in horseshoe, really helping to accelerate the sled. Where's he going to be across the line?
That's the finish.
6th place for this
Okay,
team.
2:24.53. But for Marcus, what was that run himself? That was a 1:10.58. That was a good run. What did Kaisi do? Kaisi did a 1:10.83. In fact, the fastest man so far, 1:10.39, Yin Cheng of China. But there was the scrabbling Look at this.
Nice height right at the roof, and then he can just dive down, accelerate out of this corner.
And that's exactly what he was doing in the second heat of the men's. Up, and he's starting to bend the body and steer before he gets to the high point, and then as soon as he's rotated the sled, he's dead straight down into horseshoe.
And that's where you find all the speed on this track. It's very important to get that right. Let's see if Valentina can do it.
Yeah, final sled. Silver medal in the women's competition. The winner is sitting alongside me here, so she is the de facto fastest woman in this race. And Amadeo Bañez won the men's race. They should be a gold medal winning combination.
Really fast push time, already 2/10 ahead of the Germans.
Well, she had a 2400th of a second reaction time, so she was not playing fast and loose. But Suzanne Crayer,
probably making sure she wasn't having a false start.
Yeah, well,
a couple.
Suzanne Crayer was 1700ths faster out of the block, but not down the 50 meters.
Tells you how quick Valentina is at the start. She's putting pretty decent lines together here. Still has a lead going into horseshoe. Doesn't quite get the heart that Marcus gets, but it's pretty good.
3900s up, only 11th best speed, but don't forget that includes, at the moment, 16 men. So she's quicker than at least 5 of the men have been.
She's going quicker as Susanna still at the moment, but the gap will come down because Susanna had better speeds than Valentina has. This might be really tight at the bottom.
All right, it could come down to Amadeo Bañez to win this for Italy, and they're 2200ths in the lead, and that is the sort of advantage that you would really like going into a second heat. And in terms of this race, Amadeo will have the second heat. Now, he had a bigger advantage than that in the men's competition and held his nerve. And I talked to him afterwards and said, what did it feel like the very first time you're the last man out to win it? And he said, actually, I felt okay. And it looked like it. He wasn't tight, wasn't nervous. And now he's done it. Won Italy's first ever skeleton gold medal. Since the 1948 Olympics that were held on the Cresta Run, Nino Bibbia was the champion in 1948.
Wow.
The first in the modern era of any kind.
Just making sure he doesn't have a false start.
It was a safe start. He is a quick starter as well on any day. Reaction time was 0.22, so they were making no mistakes.
They're 3/10 up on the German team right now. Looking really nice here at the top of the track. Let's see if he can replicate what he did this afternoon. Already pulling away from the Germans.
Well, right now, it's Germany first and second, Italy third, so Italy will take a medal whatever happens in the remaining minute of this race. But will it be bronze, as it currently is, or will it be gold?
Nice exit out of horseshoe. Look at his speed.
I can't believe that Mattia Gaspari is again in the final run watching somebody potentially taking a medal away from him. And this time it's his own teammate. Second best speed, 8/10 up.
If he just brings it down at decent lines, there's no way they're going to give this away.
Well, he can crash out of Martineau and still win it, but he doesn't, and it is gold for Italy, the first ever World Cup team race win for Italy.
With a big margin too.
Wow.
9800ths of a second faster than the second team. Italians are having a great day today.
Yes, they are. So silver and gold for Valentina Margolio and double gold for Amadeo Bañez. Beaten up, well, you do sometimes on this track, don't you?
The walls hurt, they're really pointy and spiky, so you just want to stay clear of them. That's the best way to go.
Hang on a minute. You know, at the speeds you're doing the world, yeah, we say it's ice, it's concrete. It does not move.
Look at how happy they are.
I know. And so they should be. Well, Valentina, with Mattia Gaspari, took bronze in the World Championships 4 seasons ago. And now Valentina and Amadeo have gold for Italy. The first time any nation has beaten Germany in this skeleton team competition. He looks wiped out.
I mean, 3 rounds in a time span of what? 4 hours, 5 hours.
Luckily, with the draw, they were last off, because I was talking to him after the men's race. There was 20 minutes to the start of the team race, and he was still on the finish dock and hadn't got in a minibus to go to the top. I wasn't sure when they were starting. Luckily, it was last and not first.
Yeah, it could have been better draw for them with the men's race ending so close to this race.
Exactly so.
Germany, too, with a penalty still making third place is impressive, though.
Well, that still wouldn't quite have been enough to catch Germany 1, but it is the Italians who claim victory ahead of Germany 1 and 2. Italy in 4th place as well, with China and Canada rounding out the top 6, and the better of the 2 British teams in 7th ahead of Belgium. There's the horseshoe bar in the background. That'll be rocking and rolling throughout the rest of the weekend. Penalties for GB2 and for the better of the 2 Swiss teams, or the first of the 2 Swiss teams, at any rate. They ended up not the better, but victory goes to Italy. A red letter day for Valentina Margaglio, and especially for Amadeo Bagnis here. And there you go, your first ever commentary, and a pretty impressive performance behind the mic as well as on the ice for Kim Boss.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's always a joy to do these races. The athletes enjoy it, win, lose or draw. It's different, it's fun. You're racing with a teammate. Never happens in any other way. So, yeah.
Look at the smiles.
So there's going to be a lot of medal ceremonies. Oh, I'm going to have to let you go because you've got to get to the top of the track as well, because you've got a medal to get as well.
I have about half an hour, though.
All right, well, that's good. Listen, thank you so much for your company, and congratulations again on your first win here in St. Moritz.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff. So Kimberly Boss, all done for the day, and she can go and collect the spoils of glory. There'll be a bit of medal presenting to go on. 3 races to deal with. Our action starts tomorrow, Saturday morning, 0900 CET, 0800 Greenwich Mean Time, 0300 Eastern. It's the Monobob in the morning, and at lunchtime, the 2-man competition. Until then, from me, Martin Haven, on behalf of Kimberly Boss and the IBSF TV crew, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Eis, das Eis,